And I am the PairTree founder and CEO. And for those that don't know, PairTree is an adoption enablement platform. So we partner with all the ethical adoption professionals and services in the United States to help expectant moms and adopting families plan and manage their adoption paths in the healthiest way possible. And healthy to us means social health, emotional health, physical health, and financial health. And Jess, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Thank you. Like Erin said, my name is Jess. I am the community manager here at PairTree, but I'm also a two-time birth mom. I have placed one daughter for adoption through one of the largest agencies in the U.S., and I have placed another daughter for adoption through private infant adoption. My daughter's adoptive family and I self-matched and then worked with an adoption attorney to finalize the adoption. And I ended up going to work for that attorney. I felt like my story and my lived experience was so valuable in the adoption industry that I basically begged my old boss for a job and he hired me. So I joined his team as a little bit of everything. I was his paralegal, adoption assistant, birth mom advocate, did a lot of outreach. And then I also started a support group for birth moms to make sure that they had access to post-placement care. And since then, I spent about 5 years working in private adoption in Louisiana. And then I also joined the team at the Lifetime Healing Foundation. So every year I get together with the most incredible group of birth moms, and we write new post-placement care curriculum for birth moms so that every year they have access to incredible, relevant, present education to help them on their post-placement journey. And then seems to be my MO. I knocked on Erin's door and begged her to let me join the team at PairTree. And I help all of our adopting families build their profiles, educate them. And then I also get to work with expectant moms and kind of educate them on the adoption process, all of their options, and then also help them through sharing my journey and my story as a birth mom.
Yeah, that's a lot. So Jess has a lot of experience in this industry, and ensuring that expectant moms are treated ethically and are given choice that's at the top of Jess's list always. So yes. Much so that when she did come work for PairTree, one of the things that she wanted to do first was create what we call the Expectant Mom Bill of Rights. And we're going to walk through that today because there's 6 kind of high level pieces of advice that every expectant mom needs to know if they're thinking about pursuing adoption. So want to just dive right into it, Jess?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like Erin said, one of the things that I was most passionate about was making sure that expectant moms know their rights, because so often in the adoption industry, with the rise of unlicensed and unethical adoption providers, expectant and birth parents are just trampled on sometimes. They are taken advantage of, they're coerced. And so we wanted to make sure that expectant and birth parents know that if you choose adoption, these are the things that you have the right to. And the first thing that we wanted to make sure expectant and birth parents knew was that they had access to coercion-free options. We wanted to make sure that they have the right to objective information on all of their options, not just adoption. That includes exploring parenting and also terminating pregnancies if that's what they're looking for support and resources for. But we wanted to make sure that they have objective information on all of their options and the support and resources to make an informed decision without coercion from anyone involved.
And then so number 2 is access to the most families, or maybe it should be like access to as many families as she needs if she
Yes.
does decide to pursue adoption. So talk to us about that one.
One of the issues in the adoption industry is that when an expectant mom calls the agency or attorney closest to her, she's really limited in the families that she has access to. And a lot of times other professionals don't reach out and don't try to find her as many families as they can that fits what she's looking for. And an expectant mom should have the right to direct access to as many families as she needs to find exactly what she's looking for. We want to make sure that she's getting really picky about the family that she's looking for, and that her choice isn't dictated by the small number of families that are available in an immediate network of an adoption professional.
And to be fair to some of those agencies and attorneys, it's not that they have malice involved in terms of limiting her choice. It's like they also don't want to bring have adopting families pay them gobs and gobs of money just to be waiting. And so they're trying to balance it from an ethical standpoint too. But again, like the internet exists now. And so I think that's, and the statistic is there's almost 50 families hoping to adopt for every one expectant mom that is actually going to pursue adoption. So there should be no shortage of families in terms of, and it's just a matter of like how, as the, from an adoption professional standpoint, how do we start working together? And that's one of the reasons that PairTree says we would never charge a fee to introduce one of our families to an adoption professional.
Exactly.
Okay, so number 3, this is a big one. Is separate, and I know you had your own experience with this in terms of a little bit of a conflict of interest. But so number 3 is separate legal representation.
This is one of my biggest advocacy standpoints. This is one of my biggest pain points in the adoption industry, is that making sure that expectant moms know that they have the right to their own attorney at no cost to them. That is something that the adopting family needs to be paying for, and it is not the attorney that is representing the adopting family. This attorney is going to meet with you, review all of your paperwork, so that way you have a safe, unbiased place to ask all of the questions that you want to ask, to have everything really explained to you. When I placed my first daughter for adoption, I worked with a really big agency, and the woman that was there when I signed my surrender, and also who did my one pre-surrender counseling session, she was the same social worker that did the adopting family's home study and was also their caseworker. And that is just a huge conflict of interest, and kind of makes you feel like you don't have anyone in your corner, no one on your side, no one advocating for you. And so making sure that expectant moms have separate legal representation is really one of the kind of cornerstones to making sure that you're healthily navigating adoption and that you're really on an ethical adoption journey.
So does that mean if I'm facing an unintended pregnancy and I want to pursue adoption, that I could call any attorney?
We wouldn't recommend it. You don't want to call a tax attorney or a real estate attorney, but there are really great organizations that are specialized adoption attorneys that know the complex, nuanced adoption law, that are going to understand each individual state's rights and also be able to advocate for you. So I wouldn't recommend just picking up your phone and dialing the first attorney that you find, but making sure that you're finding an adoption attorney and someone that specializes in adoption.
And we have all those listings by state on our website, if anybody's interested in seeing those. Okay, wonderful. Number 4 is power over her own process, and especially when it relates to kind of the timing and situations around birth.
Yes. Another one of my biggest pain points in the adoption industry is the rise of what you hear called adoption-friendly states. And you hear that and you think, oh, that's great. But it's adoption-friendly towards adopting parents, not really expectant and birth parents. And these are going to be states that have really short relinquishment periods. Like,
what is that? Why don't we talk about what a relinquishment period is just real fast?
Yeah. So a relinquishment period is the time in which you are allowed to sign any documentation that terminates your parental rights. In some states, they allow pre-birth consent, which are super unethical and coercive, but some states allow you to sign a pre-birth consent prior to birth, and then they file it 24 to 48 hours after the baby is here. A lot of states have a 24-hour relinquishment period where you're still in the hospital and you're getting your door is getting knocked on by a notary or an attorney, and they're having you sign consent or termination paperwork that's going to terminate your parental rights. And so we want to make sure that expectant moms know that they have the right to give birth in the hospital that they choose, with the doctor that they choose, with whoever that they want in the delivery room, and in their home state, surrounded by their support network. You should never fly to a separate state to deliver, no matter how much an agency tries to sell you on their birth parent housing. Don't do it. Don't fly to another state because a lot of times you're going to be taking a bus back home. And that's not fair to you. You deserve to have power over every aspect of your adoption plan and your journey. And we want to make sure that you are delivering in a safe location surrounded by a team that has your best interest at heart.
Great. And so number 5, it's called the Post-Adoption Contact Agreement, PACA for short. Talk to us about what that is and how an expectant mom plays a role and in terms of directing that.
Yes. So a PACA, a Post-Adoption Contact Agreement, is going to be a document that you as an expectant mom and the adopting family, with the help and guidance of the agency or attorney that you're working with, it's a document that everyone's going to draft that kind of sets the expectation for communication going forward. And it's going to lay the groundwork for the relationship that you have in the future. Now, this isn't to say that what you agree on today is how contact is going to be in 6 months or a year. As we know, with everything in life, relationships ebb and flow. We go through seasons. Sometimes there's going to be less contact. Sometimes there's going to be more. But the point is to put it in writing so that everyone has reasonable expectations and that everyone can be held accountable.
That's great. Okay, the last one is lifetime post-placement care. How important is this, Jess?
Unbelievably important. I have said it before and I will say it again. I do not regret placing my second daughter for adoption by any means. We have an incredible open adoption. Her adoptive family are some of my favorite people in the world. To my daughter's adoptive mom on a weekly basis. But the lack of post-placement support and care that I received after my first adoption directly led me to placing a second time. I received no post-placement care, no support after placing my first daughter for adoption. I signed my consent paperwork in the hospital, was dropped off at my house, and never heard from anyone from the agency again. And so providing post-placement support is vital, not only to ensuring expectant moms aren't forced into the position to make an adoption plan a second time, but also make sure that they're physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy for whatever else life throws their way, to make sure that they're in a position to parent after placement, to have a healthy relationship with a significant other, to have healthy relationships with their friends and family, financially have a healthy financial relationship with money and housing, and be healthy at work. Post-placement care is going to help more than just with the grief after placing. It's really going to help you emotionally and mentally prepare for the next steps in life after making an adoption decision.
Does post-placement care, how does one access it, and does it cost a lot?
It should be no cost to you as an expectant or birth mom. The professional should have access to free post-placement care. Some agencies provide you free post-placement care, like one-on-one counseling through them. You can go to the Lifetime Healing Foundation and find in-person support groups near you, or you can reach out to us and we will help you find the closest support group to you.
That's great. Thanks for that, Jess. So I think in kind of wrapping up, there's a lot of advice here. And by the way, this Bill of Rights can all be found on PairTreeFamily.com in case you want to go through it again. But I think if there was, knowing all the advice that we've given, if there was one piece, we could only say one piece of advice to an expectant mom or a birth mom that's exploring adoption, what would it be?
Ask a lot of questions. Really take the time to educate yourself, and ask a lot of questions. Ask questions of the adopting families that you're talking to, the professional that they're working with, the attorney that you're working with. Just do your research and educate yourself and ask a lot of questions, and reach out if you need someone on your side, because we're here for you every step of the way.
Thanks.